community. Oh, we're recording this today, so we're here for the Vital Communities early childhood work group focused on advocacy. So I hope that's where you all intended to arrive, and thank you for giving us an hour of your time today. I'm joined by Sarah Kobylinski. Sarah and I are co-facilitating the work group today, but really going to lean on all of you to help inform and guide our work going forward. So really grateful for your engagement, your future engagement, and just thought we could start by introducing ourselves and going around and just so we can kind of get to know everybody in the Zoom. And just if you could share your name, your affiliation, what brought you to the Zoom today, kind of what about the advocacy piece drew you to this conversation? And I can start, and maybe we can just kind of popcorn it around if that works, and I'll try to make sure we get to everybody. Does that sound good, Sarah? Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, thanks. My name is Brooke Freeland. I am a family member of and managing director of the Couch Family Foundation. We are a family philanthropy focused on the Upper Valley region of New Hampshire and Vermont, specifically focused on early childhood development as our area of philanthropic giving. I currently reside in Austin, Texas, but have done early childhood advocacy work for close to 20 years now, both in the state of Massachusetts and now in the state of Texas, and now foraying into advocacy in New Hampshire too. So there's lots of strands we can pull from all those various states, but excited to have this conversation starting here in New Hampshire, and really eager to harness kind of the passion and the motivation and the recognition that the childcare sector really needs kind of the support from all of us in the community, and how can we leverage that awareness into advocacy. So I'm going to pass it to my co-facilitator, Sarah Kobylinski, and we'll take it from there.
Hi, not only am I the co-facilitator, I work together on the Couch Family Foundation team around early care and education and childhood in general, early childhood in general, and well-being and helping kids and families thrive, particularly in this bi-state area. And I would add to Brooke's comments about the other three states, that Vermont is very much in the picture here too, as I think about families in the region and the work that we're doing. And what brings me is an appreciation for the fact that having people find voice and speak about the things that matter, and in particular at this moment in time, things that need to be changed and improved for children and families, is really important. So the advocacy strand of the work that Vital Communities is leading really is important to me. And so in the popcorn sense, I'm looking at the screen and I'm going to say, I know that's not Dan Banks, and you will unmute, you will introduce who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Bazogan, and I have decades of experience in early child care. And I am coming to this forum today to figure out what I can do to help to advocate for children and families in the Upper Valley, and to learn from all of you what are the best steps to take in this this venture. And I'll pass it off to Doreen Gillette.
Thank you. Yep, I'm Doreen Gillette. I work at Vital Communities, and I'm here just to support the meeting recording, and always interested in this topic. I have 5 children in our household. Most of them don't need childcare anymore, but still something we've always had to deal with. So I will keep passing along to Katie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Jenks. I come from about 30 years of experience running a family home center and am now currently program manager with the ECEA. Okay, let's pass it on to Sunny.
I'm Sunny McPetras, and I have several hats. I'm the director of the Dartmouth College Childcare Center. And I have been in the field for decades, but I don't feel old enough to be able to say that, but I can. But also I work in New Hampshire and live in Vermont, so I really acknowledge the bi-state piece of the Upper Valley and how both states, need the advocacy and need, to work together. And I'm also the president of the board of the ECEA. So many hats and, looking to see what direction, we should be heading in next. And I will pass to Andra.
I don't know how I knew you were going to choose me. I'm Andrew Dunhauer. I'm an eco-psychologist who is serving as the interim project manager for this initiative with Vital Communities, and also wear lots of other hats. I'm a parent and lived and worked in Vermont for 15 years. I'm now located in Greenfield, Massachusetts, but supporting this project is just to get it going and keep it going for a little while we work on getting this position hopefully into a full-time position. Keep this work going for the next couple of years. And I will pass it to Rachel Scudder.
Hi, my name is Rachel Scudder. I'm a planner at the Mount Escutney Regional Commission, which is located in Vermont. I actually live in New Hampshire, so a little bit opposite from what was said before. We always mention childcare in a lot of the regional planning that we do, but I think especially as we sort of foray into public health and kind of what that means and sort of a larger sort of scope of community health, childcare is very important. And so this would be, I would think, maybe more of a first step towards this type of work. And I'll move it on to the other Rachel.
I am the Childcare Subsidy and Referral Program Supervisor at the Family Place. That's about it. I'll pass it to Erica.
Hi, everyone. My name's Erica. I'm a parent of a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I'm not in the childcare field myself, but I am looking for ways for me to contribute, since I know, based on my own experience and the experience of many other of my friends and colleagues, that it's a critical issue in the area. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I will pass it to Jocelyn.
So funny. So I'm similar to Erica. I do not work in the childcare space, but have a 4.5-year-old and an 8-year-old who's in 3rd grade. I'm new to the Upper Valley. We moved here at the end of the summer and almost were not able to move because of the childcare issue. And so, and have been really, struggling to find aftercare for our 3rd grader as well. And just knowing like the importance of early childcare. I'm looking to see, how I can best contribute to creating more opportunities for other families, and have been bouncing to some of the different working groups to see where I can best add value. And I will pass to the person below me is listed as R. Witokowski.
Hi, My name is Rebecca Wojtkowski, and I'm the Kids Count Policy Director at New Futures. I know some of you are familiar with New Futures, but New Futures is a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization that educates, advocates, and collaborates to improve the health and wellness of New Hampshire residents. So we're a public health advocacy organization. My work is centered all on early childhood. And as part of my portfolio of work, we really advocate on the state level to increase investments in childcare. So we know that access to childcare is important not only for academic success, but to mitigate the impacts of trauma in children. So we work really hard to coordinate with what's going on in the regions to what's going on in the state house. And so that means that every single day, I don't get the joy. I have 2 little kids. I don't get the joy of, working in a childcare center, but I work with the legislature, which sometimes is like working with toddlers. So, all the tools you employ when you're there. So I'm just excited to hear from all of you today and share, what's going on from my perspective near the State House. And I will pass it to Tammy.
Hi, just so you know, I have littles off to my left sleeping. I am an early childhood educator. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I wanted to join this particular group because this is actually something that I've been doing for quite some time, advocating. I'm part of Vermont's Power to the Profession Task Force to have everyone recognized as an early childhood educator. And I'm also part of Let's Grow Kids Action Network and a number of other things, along with also being a network leader for 2 networks in the Upper Valley. So hopefully my knowledge base with the 2 networks might come in handy with this group too. And I will pass it off to, is it Mariah? I don't think she's done it yet.
You got it right. Thank you, Tammy. Hi, everyone. Mariah Davis from Mascoma Banks. I don't work in childcare either. I am here. I'm the community impact manager at the bank, and so I manage our philanthropy efforts. And we did a needs assessment last year just to see what the top needs were in the communities. We had reached out to our business customers and also nonprofits. And childcare was, unsurprising, one of the top needs. And so we kind of thought that in 2022, we wanted to kind of look into childcare and how the bank can support that, whether that's, financially or different initiatives that we can get involved in. So that's why I'm here, just to kind of listen and learn, what's out there and how we can best help. And I will pass to, I don't think Amy has gone yet.
Hi, I'm Amy Brooks. I'm the Executive Director of the Early Care and Education Association. And I see a lot of familiar faces from other work groups. I lead the staff recruitment and retention work group. If you're interested in working on that group as well, we invite all the help we can get. And I will pass it to Jocelyn.
I've gone already, so I will pass to Tracy Hutchins.
Hi, everybody. Tracy Hutchins. I'm the director of the Upper Valley Business Alliance, which is the Chamber of Commerce that covers Hanover, Lebanon, and other parts of the Upper Valley. And we do advocate for our members, member businesses and organizations. And one of the things that we hear from our members, whether they're the larger companies in the area or very small companies, is that childcare is a huge issue for their employees, and in many cases is causing them to either not come back to work or have issues with just remaining employed. So I'm here to listen and see what we can do as well. And I will pass it to Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Ip, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at New Futures for the Upper Valley. I work with Rebecca Wojtkowski, and I'm hoping to help you guys teach you different ways you can engage in advocacy as it comes up through the session. I know Rebecca will be sharing some upcoming bills in New Hampshire, at least they're coming, and I can share some different ways and hopefully help you guys be able to participate in the legislative process when it comes to advocacy. And I'll pass it to the other Kim.
Kim, you're still muted.
Thanks. I clicked the button, but it didn't quite work. Hi, I'm Kim Tolan. I work at the Family Place at the Early Care and Education Program. I've been here for just 7 years, but I have almost, I'd say probably 40 years of experience in early care. I have always lived in New Hampshire, lived on the Seacoast for a number of years, but I'm from the Upper Valley. And down at the Seacoast, I was involved in vocational high school early child care programs and had my own small child care center down there, and then moved back to this area. And I worked in one other child care center in New Hampshire before I came here. I've done pretty much every age children in the classroom. I've also done obviously director stuff and also program development things. So and I'm here. This is a new adventure for myself, and I'm hoping that it'll be something that I can do as I get ready to retire within the next 5 years. So. Oh, and I'm supposed to pass it on. And I guess you just guess who hasn't gone yet, because I came a few minutes later. I'm gonna guess.
You want me to help?
Sure.
How about Charlotte, who's working our way through the.
Okay, Charlotte.
Sure. So my name is Charlotte Rutledge. I recently left employment, not solely because, but partly because of the childcare concerns in the Upper Valley. And I'm home with my 2 kids right now. We're doing a baking project. But yeah, I have almost 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I definitely am interested in learning primarily sort of how to help employers really support this initiative. And I think particularly sort of the larger employers in the area can play a critical role. So I will pass it to Courtney. Have you gone?
I have not gone. I was just going to raise my hand, Charlotte. Courtney Tanner. In my day job, I'm the Director of Government Relations at Dartmouth Hitchcock, and I was asked to serve on this by some of our leadership. I quickly raised my hand though and said I'll absolutely do it because I am a daughter of a woman who had 2 childcare centers in York County, Maine. My mom ran 2 childcare centers, so your work is near and dear to my heart as I watched her navigate her career. And I have a 2.5-year-old at home, and finding childcare for her was extremely hard. I also am going to put on my other hat sometimes with this group. I serve as the board chair of a new organization called Families Flourish, and we are a new nonprofit that's looking to open up a residential treatment program for pregnant and parenting women who are experiencing substance use disorders and co-occurring mental health challenges. And so our residential treatment program will allow women to bring their children with them to care. And part of an important piece of that work is going to be ensuring that we have access to childcare while their women navigate treatment during the day. So that's me. I'm happy to pass it off. But is there can we raise, can folks that haven't gone yet raise hands? Oh, Sarah Jackson, thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. I'm Sarah Jackson. I'm the Executive Director of Vital Communities, and just very excited to be here. I see this advocacy group really building on the expertise of all of you. It's amazing what you bring. And that bi-state piece of it is so important. I think we can learn from each other in terms of what Vermont is doing and what New Hampshire is doing. And it really impacts all of us. As we've seen, there are some people who live in Vermont and work in New Hampshire and vice versa. So very excited to have a bi-state advocacy group that will build build on the advocacy efforts of so many others that are more state focused. So good to be here. And Heather, did you go?
I haven't yet. I'm Heather Dryden. I'm the Director of Government Relations at Dartmouth. So like Courtney, I was asked to participate in this group by my leadership, but I'm thrilled to be here. And I'll credit Julia Griffin, I think, with maybe first raising this group's existence with my leadership. So though I work in government relations, I also do touch in the other areas of the community, and I'm excited to see how Dartmouth can help be an important player in this topic. I'll pass it to Julia.
I apologize for being a little late, folks. As tight as childcare resources are, so is it difficult to find dog groomers. So I was picking up my dog from a groomer I've been waiting for 2 years to finally get my dog into. And if you'd seen how my grooming job on that little guy looked, you'd understand why it was, I'll take any grooming appointment. So I'm Julia Griffin, I'm town manager in Hanover, and I've been part of what we started out calling an economic dislocation group that's now the business transformation group that meets every couple of weeks, hosted by Nancy LaRoe at Vital Communities. And we surfaced the childcare crisis for poor Sarah, who probably rused the day she agreed to explore this issue. But with those of us as major employers raised the issue in our business dislocation group in terms of hearing from so many families that this was a crisis. So I'm so glad to be able to be a part of rolling up the shirt sleeves on this, clearly a really critically important working group. And I'm popcorning, but I was late, so I don't know who's already introduced themselves.
How about Liz Swanton? Have you gone yet? Oh, you're still muted, Liz. That's going to be my job. I'm just going to tell people when they're still on mute.
I'm Liz Swanson. I manage community health at Alice Peck Day Memorial Hospital. And yeah, APD recognizes childcare as a key issue to our workforce and sees it as a key community health need. So I am here to see what kind of role my employer can take. And also as a personal issue, you know, I was out of work for months while I was on wait list looking for daycare, and see how much my daycare is currently struggling with staffing, and see it as a vital issue. So yeah, happy to help.
And I don't think Susan has gone yet.
Oh,
Or
hello.
Jen.
Hi, my name is Susan Dicken. Pronouns are she, hers. I'm the Associate General Manager and HR Liaison at Northern Stage. So my focus is coming from, we bring a lot of guest artists to the Upper Valley that sometimes need short-term childcare, which is a very specific need. And so just interested in learning more about how we as an organization, and then just me as an individual, can support the advocacy in this community.
And I think lastly is Jen Parker.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm also co-hosting the facilities work group, so I'm just kind of sitting in to see what's going on in this one. I'm an owner of a childcare center in Grantham, who were desperately struggling, like most other programs, to find staff, and have a director nearing retirement. So also, you know, thinking down the long term as well. So I'm happy to be here, very passionate about this, and obviously want to do what I can to help support those of us in the childcare industry, as well as the families and businesses seeking childcare.
Thanks, Jen. And I think that's everyone. Please holler if anyone hasn't had the chance to introduce themselves. Okay, we did it. Good work, team. And you know, and again, I just want to say thank you to Sarah Jackson and Vital Communities for creating this space and helping us to elevate this important issue and propel this work forward. So Thank you, Sarah, and being, however it all came about, we're here, and that's what matters. So, it's great to see kind of a mix of providers and parents and public sector and employers. So I really value kind of the experiences and how everyone, what brought everyone to this table. And Sarah and I are Sarah Koblinski and I are really gonna lean on all of you to help inform this conversation going forward and our strands of advocacy work, both, in New Hampshire and Vermont and collectively in the Upper Valley. You guys are the ones kind of living it and breathing it. And so really, we might be facilitating, but you are all guiding and informing. And I will say, I think we were supposed to have someone from Let's Grow Kids also part of the advocacy work group. So just to know that Vermont will kind of have that representation as well. We have some kind of exercises, ideally we'd all be in a room together doing this and brainstorming, but really I'm hoping to lean on you to kind of help us set the agenda and help kind of brainstorm what advocacy means in the various avenues that we can kind of pursue our goals. And I'll read it to you, kind of what we said, kind of the goal of this advocacy work group, so we can kind of frame our thinking there. But when we say advocacy, and we're going to kind of go through this exercise, that can mean a whole lot of different things. And so just kind of want to start by, what does advocacy mean to you, and how can we engage? And so I'll kind of put an exercise out there, but the goal of this advocacy work group, and I'm going to read this, is to create an exchange of successful advocacy policies and strategies that increase high quality, availability, and affordability in each state, and engage Upper Valley businesses in by-state advocacy. So, it's policy, state level policy in both states, it's city, town policies, even K through 12 public education, it's employers, family-friendly workplace practices, it's education. So there's lots of different strands to this work, and just really want your inputs and experiences to help kind of elevate what those strands can be and where we can begin to lean in. All right, give me a second. I'm going to put a link in the chat and we can start to Jamboard a little bit. So if you open up this link, and hopefully it works, and this will be my tech skills, it'll bring you to a Jamboard. And, because we're limited on time today, there's a couple questions posed, and at the end of our session today, I'll leave the Jamboard open so people can kind of go back and continue to add, because this is kind of your feedback and your stickies here is going to help kind of guide our agenda. And
yeah, Brooke, for the sake of, if someone has not used Jamboard before, when you click on that link, it'll open up a page, and on the left-hand margin on my computer, it's a vertical band down the left-hand side. If you scroll, if you put your cursor above it, you'll see sticky note.
And if you want, if you go back to your Zoom screen, I just shared my screen so you can kind of see right here what Sarah was talking about. On the left-hand side, there's a little icon. When you hover over it, it says sticky note. You click, it brings you a yellow sticky. You can pick your color, whatever. And so the first question we're kind of asking, and right, this is kind of an exercise in just understanding the process, but what are ways that you can engage in advocacy? You as a parent, as an employee, an employer, and a provider, what are ways that you can you can engage. And there's really no wrong answer here. And we're just trying to collect inspiration. You know, I would say a goal is to kind of create a grassroots advocacy coalition. So I'd say and so then I can put, and there's my sticky.
So how do we get back to the Jamboard now?
Okay, now go back to that. I'll stop my share. So now you can go back to that link that's in the chat, and that should bring you back to the Jamboard. And we'll give you kind of I'll give you, you know, a couple minutes just to play around. And for those of you who haven't used a Jamboard, raise your hand. I'm looking at you on Zoom if you can't access the Jamboard. And I know if you're calling on your phone, it's a little difficult. So I will email you all kind of in the follow-up to this meeting, a link to the Jamboard, again, so we can continue this exercise after this meeting concludes. All right, looks like people are getting the hang of it. This is what we do in the era of, don't worry about where the sticky notes end up. We'll kind of go in on the back end and do some organizing. Allison, let me check. You should be able to see everybody's, but you don't know who wrote what is kind of. Yeah. Allison, yeah, if you use the link from the chat, the one from the agenda, I wasn't sure if everyone could access it because of security, so I put a new link in the chat. All right, I'm going to give you guys kind of another minute to close out that thought. And again, you'll have time to go back because I always, leave a Zoom and then think of something I forgot. So you'll have the chance to go back, and I'll say kind of as a next step, Sarah Koblenski and I are going to kind of pull out, we'll group these stickies and pull out common threads, and so it's a little bit easier to make sense of. So now kind of on that same Jamboard at the very top, and I can go back to sharing so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. At the very top here, this is kind of the slide deck. If you can click to where it says the next frame and this little arrow on your Jamboard to bring you to the next question, which is short-term goals. What should the group focus on accomplishing over the next 90 days? We'll spend a couple times here, and just as a teaser, the next question is long-term goals. So kind of what, the next 12 months, what should we focus on? So starting here, we'll take a couple minutes to think about short-term goals, kind of the low-hanging fruit priorities that we can tackle collectively. Okay, we'll take another minute and then we'll switch to the next slide. So I'll give you 2 more minutes to finish up your thoughts. Okay, and when you're ready now, we can flip to the third slide, which says long-term goals. What should the group focus on accomplishing over the next year? What are some policy priorities, advocacy opportunities over the next year that we can focus on? Okay, we'll take 1 more minute here. Okay, we'll have you finish up your last thought. And don't worry if you have more thoughts, you know, we. This is just to get the juices flowing and the conversation started. And now kind of want to give, as you finish that up, kind of looking for input from you all about, you know, so meeting cadence and how often you think this group should get together. And we can doodle poll this, but you know, how often we should be meeting. Some of these work groups are meeting weekly, some are meeting bi-weekly. What's the time of day? I know for parents, providers, employees, employers, it's a little all over the map, but we want to be accessible to as many as possible. And again, I think the plan is to always record these meetings. So if you can't sit in live, you can catch up with a recording and always connect with Sarah Koblinski, Sarah Jackson, or myself, or Andra kind of offline to chat about any and all of the above. But what, you know, some feedback from you all about kind of cadence wise, what seemed realistic and doable?
Brooke, do you say Julia's got her hand up?
Oh, thanks, Julia. Go, yeah.
Yeah, you know, particularly, I mean, I'm focused on the legislative sessions, right? And we're working here in session on both sides of the state. So I'd certainly be game for meeting every 2 weeks with a pretty focused work plan, particularly for the next 90 days. Because I think some of what we can do revolves around what is happening on both sides of the state politically. And you know, totally flexible in terms of time of day, evening, whatever works for the group. I think we've got to be supportive of each other. But I think we can't afford to do anything longer than every 2 weeks, given the opportunities we have timing wise to strike while the iron's hot.
Right. Agree. Okay. And I saw Erica asked about Slack channels. We don't right now have another form of communication besides old-fashioned email, but that's something I can circle back with Vital Communities on, and something we can explore, just so there's opportunities for dialogue in between those two meetings. I think we can also kind of make a Google group or some way that we can communicate. I like that idea. All right, so every other week, I agree to kind of harness the activity that's going on in both legislatures, as well as kind of at the federal level. Does a doodle poll work, just to kind of figure out timing that might work for most? We're not going to get all, but you know, are people responsive to doodle polls? Okay. All right. Great. And then, you know, would love feedback on agenda setting. And just, you know, keeping us alert to what's, you know, time sensitive and what's coming down the pike in ways that we can be responsive as advocates. Thinking kind of with the next agenda to flesh out some of the feedback we've got from the sticky notes, but would really, you know, focusing on these next 90 days, what should be on our radar as ways to engage or potentially rally around. So we'll look to you all for that insight and information, and always open, you know, this is a collective work group, so open to your input and feedback on what shapes our agenda.
Brooke, can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, please do.
Just to, I think it was Julia's comment around the legislative session, there have already been a number of hearings on early childhood bills, some of them relating to childcare in New Hampshire. So I'm curious, I'm new to working in this work group, and I hear you talking about an action plan, and I see some comments on, being able to support legislative lobbying. New Hampshire doesn't have a completely remote way to do advocacy right now. We track and manage and lobby for early childhood policies, but I don't have a clear sense on, what, if you need to understand what's existing right now in the respective states around pieces of legislation, how you might want to participate. If you do, how do you do that safely? If you don't want to show up in person. So, at least for New Hampshire's perspective, you might want to meet before 2 weeks, because there are bills that are being exec out of our Senate really quickly. This week, there's a hearing on our child care workforce recruitment and retention, which is Thursday. So just trying to gauge how I can be of service, whether providing a list of bills would be helpful, because things move really quickly. And I'm hearing that you all want to engage really actively. But I think you need to understand the landscape and where your voice is, and how you support the bills, as you go forth. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Is that something you can provide? Do you have a tool, a way to provide that to this group quickly? If we could do something like having a Slack channel set up, so there's a way to communicate fluidly between meetings, if we could start out with sort of a bit of a map of what is from you, sure, and we can get the same. I know, and I know Tammy could confirm this from Let's Grow Kids. So we have a picture from each of the 2 states at what's going on the state level. I think that would be a great starting point right this minute. Yeah. And I think it's reflected in many of the sticky notes.
So I can send to Brooke or whomever a track bill report that has hyperlinks to the bill language, and I can isolate that just around childcare in both the House and Senate, and then that can be a foundation for discussion, at least about what's ongoing at this moment. That doesn't take into consideration administrative advocacy around federal funds that are related to childcare, but at least it's like what's hitting the legislature today.
Do you have a piece around that you're framing around the administrative advocacy around the federal funds? Do you have something in that domain too?
I don't have anything prepped ready for prime time around this. I mean, we could have an open discussion about where things are in New Hampshire, but that is less clear than, there's a less clear authority around how those discretionary funds are allocated than what are pieces of legislation right now.
And guys, I can provide, because the New Hampshire Municipal Association has done a great job of sort of doing a quick, here's how you participate remotely in the session this winter in Concord if you don't want to go to hearings, because you can't testify virtually, but you can submit testimony online, and you can register your position on bills online. So I'm happy to send Sarah to you if you want that quick, here's how you can do it remotely in the New Hampshire legislature, if that would be helpful to be combined with this sort of bill analysis.
Yeah, Julia, go ahead and I can share it with Brooke and Sarah, and Andra will get it out. Yeah,
will do. It's very easy. So once you've done it a couple times, it is very easy. It's just the only alternative right now to showing up in a hearing where half the reps and senators aren't wearing masks. So it's pretty frustrating.
And for those of you who are not following the chat right now, if you would go to that and put in your email, that would be great. Doreen said that would help her too.
And Allison has her hand up.
Yeah, please, Allison.
So I hate to sound like a dodo here, but I'm particularly alert to the fact that the New Hampshire legislature comes up with some pretty wacky bills. And I'm confident that I could probably figure out, oh, I'm supposed to be opposed to this, but I'm less confident that I know what I'm really supposed to be supporting, because it can be quite nuanced. And so one of the things that I'm wondering about, does this group, has Vital Communities, like did pre-launch, do we have a sort of core set of policies that we're advocating for that we could then link this legislation to? So like this legislation meaningfully supports a living wage, or this legislation meaningfully does this, so that I actually know what the outcomes are, because I am fearful of wading into the conversation and accidentally advocating for something that is actually at cross purposes to what we're trying to accomplish. So I hope others are more sophisticated, but I'm just confident that I could do that. I could have a backfired moment.
Oh, I think that is a risk in the New Hampshire legislature all the time if you don't have the scorecard. Yeah. And so I would turn to Rebecca Witkowski on that. Is that part of what you're able to offer us, is whether it's something you're supporting or working to stop?
Right. So we include whether we're supporting or whether we're in opposition. What we support is really guided by our mission. So we aim to improve access for all kids and families. So one thing you will have to think about as you move forward in a group is identifying bills where there might be a spectrum of support when it comes to the childcare field, given the differences in ways a piece of legislation will be drafted. Right now, I can tell you that most of the bills related to childcare that we're following are pretty straightforward. We either, support the concept while the language needs to be worked out a little bit. There aren't as many that are difficult with regard to, what we're following. Now, there are some bills around licensing that I don't know where you guys will fall on. I don't know your core values as a group. I think that's why it's really important to have a printout of what is pending and have an open discussion, and then determine whether or not, and one thing I am gathering this group, are you going to be supporting, is someone going to be supporting the bill individually, or are you going to have like a group acknowledgement that like as a work group that you're submitting this collective support on a bill? But those are things that can grow, out of your you developing your advocacy center and skills. I think for the first step, I'll give you a printout. I'll indicate where New Futures supports and opposes, and then you can look at the language and we can have a follow-up conversation. I'm happy to, if there's a need to meet, after that assent with Brooke or, Sarah or anybody to give some more background, I'm happy to do that. But yes, it is, it can be tricky to navigate the language, and it is important that you guys have identified shared values so you understand where there's the collective support and where there's individual support, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that frame is really helpful.
And it may be helping us set our next agenda.
Yeah.
And we'll reach out to Let's Grow Kids, and so we can try to have a parallel track with Vermont as well.
Yep.
Okay, there's lots of work to do, and this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg, but I really appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to get the conversation started. We will be in the doodle poll for the next meeting in 2 weeks, as well as some ideas around the agenda and a link so you can keep adding sticky notes to our Jamboard. And Sarah and I are always available with questions in the interim and thoughts, because we really value and need your input in this process. So I thank you. Any closing thoughts, Sarah? Or Sarah?
I'll just jump in and say thank you. And I also want to thank the Couch Family Foundation and the City of Lebanon, who are supporting this initiative to enable us to hire Andra to keep things moving and to offer stipends to parents and early care and education providers. So thank you very much, and just thrilled to see all of you here. Very excited to see what we're going to be doing. Back to you, Brooke.
All right, no, for the, well, 2 minutes late. I apologize, but we'll let you go get on with the rest of your day. Thank you all.
Thank you all.